Hey guys, this is Eric with Project DIY. If you're one of those rustic farmhouse style shutters on the front of your house, but you didn't want to pay for them, you don't know how to make them, well, that's alright, because today I'm going to show you how to do that. We got some cedar here that I'm going to be using that I've taken out of my house. It's another, I've reclaimed it. It just has a little bit of nail holes every once in a while here in it. But that's what we're going to be using today. There's other types of wood you can use, but that's what we're going to be using. So, also, remember I told you some of those dude tools we can use? And guess what? We're going to be using one today. Let's check it out. So, you can use a saw to do this, but we're going to use a chop/miter saw today. It's going to be pretty awesome. So, stay tuned. We'll show you how to do this. Hey, one more thing too. Just so you know. There's a dude truck too, for all yous out there. And hey, ladies love bow ties, that's a given. And one more thing. He's back there, don't pet the deer, okay? Alright guys, let me show you what I'm gonna do here. I'll show you, and then I'll have a video on it later in here. It's gonna time lapse it, and will show me doing it all. But let me show you what I got. I went and measured my window. Mine is 54 1/4. So you wanna pull down with your tape, 54 1/4. Get down here, so you can see what I'm doing. 54 1/4. And if you're like, well, I don't know where that's at, I got a video on how to read a tape measure, so go find that one and you can watch it. So there's 54 1/4. Got it marked. I'm gonna grab my square, throw it up here, make sure it's on my board, right against my line there. And then I'm gonna mark it. Okay. You don't necessarily have to mark it when you're using the chop saw, because you just have to have your one mark, but I go ahead and mark it just so I can make sure everything's cut and square. Now here's the moment some of y'all been waiting for. Like I said, it's a nice dude tool, okay? You don't have to have this. You could use a skill saw if you wanted. It would work just as well, but you know what? You might look a little cooler using one of these, but if you don't have one, that's okay. Anyways, so we're gonna get this on the line. Let me set this back up and you can see me cut it. I'll get it on the line there. Make sure all fingers are out. That's right on the line I want to be on, and I want to cut on this side of my line, not this side, because if I cut on this side of the line, that board's gonna be shorter than 54 1/4. So my line's right here. I want to cut my blade. The edge of my blade needs to be on that side of the line, because that blade's about an 1/16 of an inch shorter, and it's going to make your board just a hair shorter. So here we go. All right, and there's that part. And then, as you can see, I'm going to do 3 wide. And then I'm going to put this piece here, which is a little bit thinner. These boards are 5 inches a piece. Each individual board is pretty much right at 5 inches. Okay. And then I went and measured. Like I said, they're actually a hair over. So when you get there, remember I said you don't use 16th very often, but this time we are. So that's 15 and 3/16. That's what I cut this one here. I went up and cut the other one just like that. And here in a little bit, I'll show you guys how we're going to attach them together to make them stay together and all that fun stuff, and I'll show you guys how to do that. All right guys, we've got all of our boards cut, everything ready to go. Let me show you what I've got here. Got the 3 boards, top and the bottom there, ready to go. What we're going to do next, I'm going to be attaching these from the back. So I've got a clamp I'm going to be putting on them, 2 different types of clamp. I'll show you how them clamps, show you them works. And then we got our screws we're going to be putting on. So let's set this down and we'll rotate all these boards over. Let me flip all of them over real quick. Alright, you want to make sure that all your boards are flush on the edge there. Make sure they're flush. Come down your other end, which you cut them all the same length they should be. Make sure they're good and flush. And then we're gonna go ahead and clamp this real quick. This clamp here, the way it works, just sit it on there like this. You can push this button right here. That lets it adjust closer and further apart. And then when you get tighten it, you just pull this trigger and that brings it back together. Quick it. Hold this till it's tight. This clamp here is more like a bar clamp. You can move this, pull this in here. That moves it up and down, okay? And then this here, once you get it close, you'll spin this to get it to tighten or to loosen. We'll throw this one on this side down here. All right, so here's one of those shutters finished. Got the two pieces, top and bottom, screwed together to help hold them together. And actually on the back, I wound up putting 2 in each board. I was just putting 1, but just so they don't warp over time, I went ahead and put 1 on each end. That way, if you put 1 in the middle, it may want to start to warp one way or the other. So I went ahead and put 1 on each side. I think that will help it out a little bit. So that is it. Not hard, not difficult. Something pretty easy that you can do, but it's going to change the whole look of your house. It will make everything look so much better. All right, I wasn't sure if we was going to get to use this or not in here, but we are. We get to introduce another dude tool. All right, let's check this out. And this one deserves the old Tim Allen grunt. Oh, the old table saw, 10-inch. You got one of these, there's no questions asked. You're a dude, you gotta have it. My wife's like, you're so dumb. I'm like, I know, but that's just how guys are. We like tools. And I got the wheels on mine. That way it folds up, these here will fold up in it, and then you can grab it by the handle, wheel it around. It's great. So let's get set up here. Let me show you how this bad boy works. You can do this, like I said, once again, you can do this with a skill saw, but I ain't gonna lie, this makes it a whole lot easier. So here's your guard. It clamps down right here. Here's your clamp, it just lifts up. And to loosen it, push it down to lock it. Push it all the way down like that. Let me sit you up here. What we need is 3 1/4 inches. So what you want to do is loosen that up, and then you want to move this back. And don't worry, the saw's not on, so it can't come on. You want to the inside of this to be what your measurement is. You don't want on this side of the blade, because if you do that, you're going to lose however much that blade is. That blade is like a 1/16, a little over a 1/16 of an inch thick. So if you go and have 3 1/4 over here, by the time you get done with that board, you're actually going to have about 3 1/8, about 8 inch thick. So you want 3 1/4 on the guard side of the blade, and you want to do both sides. You want to do the bottom up here and up here, because actually I've had it before where I didn't check it and it's off and it cuts it cattywampus, and you don't want that either. There's 3. Alright, hold that there, lock it down. Alright, let's fire this bad boy up and we'll show you how it works. I will show you before we get started. You want to keep this board all the way, so you want to keep this all the way up against the guard, obviously underneath of it where it'll cut it, but that there's showing you that's how you want to keep that. That will run all the way up against that blade, or I'm sorry, against that guard through the blade, and we'll go. Let's fire it up and we'll show you how it's done. that is how you do it. I will say, be very careful. If you do not know how to run the machinery, don't run it, because you don't want to end up looking like this. All right, guys, we've got them all together now. We're going to go to the next step, which is sanding. One of the most important parts to make it look good. I'm going to sand mine with 220 grit. You can read there on the back of it. If you read on the back of your sanding paper, it'll tell you go from 60, 120. Maybe it'll go a little lighter than that if you wanted, but I'm going to do 220. You can do it by hand, you know, like so. Kind of fold it over and just kind of hit it. It ain't gonna take much. I'm gonna use a palm sander. It's gonna make it a little bit easier, a little bit quicker, and that way it didn't wear me out as much. So that's what I'm gonna use. Let me sand a little bit here, and we'll show you the next step right after that. All right, guys, we're getting closer and closer. We have this, the next to the last step. Now what we're gonna do, we have them all sanded, put together, all that fun stuff. We're gonna wipe them down real good with just a clean rag and some mineral spirits. And you may have to use a couple rags. It may take more than just one, because it gets dirty and you don't want any kind of dust particles or any of that staying in it. It'll make it look as clean as possible. So I'll just show you what I'm gonna do here, just quick. That way you have an idea. So just wet your rag down real good and just take it. We're just gonna wipe this down. We wanna get all of the dust off of it. When I get ready to do mine, I'm not sanding it or anything, I'm just polishing mine. So I just wanna get this first so we can get it good and clean. All right, that's all there is to it. I'm gonna knock these other ones out, and then we'll continue on and we'll get these bad boys done. All right, guys, we are on the home stretch here. We've got them laid out, all the shutters laid out here on a table. They've been cleaned, prepped, all that fun stuff. Got a polyurethane here. Remember, you want to stir this, don't shake it. So for those of you, you want it stirred, not shaken, okay? Some of y'all will get that later. Anyways, I want to show you what I do here. I'm just using a brush on mine. It's nothing fancy. I'm gonna use a brush. You can use an applicator pad or something like that along those lines if you want. That's more of a preference ordeal. But this is what I'm gonna use. So let me get started here and I'll show you what to do. Just get your brush. It looks like kind of milky, but it'll dry to a clean, clear finish when it dries. We'll get it all on here. And once I get it all on here, then what I'll do is I'll make just one good stroke all the way down the board like that. That way I try to you want to keep as much air bubbles out of everything as you can. And show any kind of streaking or things of that nature. You don't want that showing in it. So let me get one of these done and I'll kind of show you what I do. As you can see, it darkens it up quite a bit. And it's going to, the polyurethane does that. That's pretty much all there is to it. Just get there, get it all, the whole surface of everything sanded up, or I'm sorry, polyurethaned up. You're good to go. As long as, speaking of sanding, as long as you did a good job sanding, it's gonna come out with a good smooth finish and they'll look great. I'm gonna finish these up and then I'll probably let them dry overnight and then we'll go from there and I'll let you guys look at them, then we'll mount them, show you how to do that, and we'll be good to go. All right, everybody, I let these dry overnight. Let's check them out and see what they turned out looking like. You see the different color variations in it. This, like I said, this is a cedar. These here, actually, these three here are a little bit lighter. This one here's a little bit darker, but they still look good. Everything's good and smooth where we sanded it. Nice and smooth. Here is the polyurethane that I used. Varathane is the brand. And you see it's an exterior. You definitely want to use an exterior. This is the same stuff I use on all of my exterior doors. It does a good job. So that's something that you may want to look into using. There's different other brands for sure, but that's what I've used on there and it seemed to work good. So guys, I hope this has been helpful for you if you're wanting to make your own shutters and things of that nature. So I hope it helped you out a whole lot. Learn something through it possibly too. If you would, give us some subscription, give us a like. We appreciate it. And remember, why hire a guy when you can DIY?